Nothing and no one will be able to wound you again. Not because the world has grown gentler, but because you have changed. Not because pain has vanished, but because you've stopped placing the blade in other people's hands. The truth is, much of what broke you didn't come from the incident itself, but from the interpretation you gave it, the entry you allowed, the story you replayed that told you were fragile, unworthy, overlooked, or damaged. Carl Jung understood this. He saw that pain isn't merely an event, it's something we absorb and carry. It doesn't just mark the body, it reshapes the mind, and if left unchecked, it becomes your identity. The reality few grasp is this: you aren't wounded simply because people are cruel. You're wounded because you tied your value to how they treated you. Because you believed the lie that your worth depends on acceptance, that safety depends on relationships, that love, respect, and validation are gifts bestowed by others. Jung would remind you that everything you seek is already inside you. You don't need to be chosen to know you matter. You don't need applause to feel powerful. You don't need agreement to feel real. What you need is to reclaim what you've given away because you've been handing out the sharpest instruments: your loyalty, your listening ear, your endless patience, your devotion to being enough. From today, something shifts. You stop distributing keys. You stop trying to make yourself understood by those who don't care to hear. You stop bleeding for people who wouldn't notice if you vanished. This is not about becoming hardened, it's about becoming clear. The more you desert yourself to safeguard others, the more exposed you are to harm. As Carl Jung said, a man is not hurt so much by what happens as by his opinion of what happens. And that opinion, that narrative, is now in your hands. So go back, revisit the wounds, the love that left you feeling inadequate, the parent who made affection conditional, the friend who disappeared when you needed them most, the betrayals, the shame. The moment you stopped trusting the world and started blaming yourself, that was when you learned the wrong lesson: that you had to be more to feel secure, that you had to perform to be embraced, that you had to trade your truth for the illusion of safety. But now you know that isn't protection, it's erasure. And if you keep doing it, you'll surround yourself with people who adore only your performance. Not your truth, not your depth, not the side of you that says no or draws the line. The real pivot comes when you stop asking, "Why did they hurt me?" and start asking, "Why did I keep giving them entry to my softest places?" Power begins there, not by dodging pain, but by becoming unreachable. Not through shutting down, but through waking up. You now understand. Not everyone earns the right to your vulnerability. Not everyone should hear your fears. Not everyone has the privilege to sway your emotions or shape your identity. And once you fully embrace that, you stop flinching, stop reacting, stop explaining, you settle into stillness. In that stillness lies your shield, forged not of steel, but of certainty. When you know who you are, no one can touch you. Rejection loses its sting because you no longer beg to belong. Betrayal stops crippling you because you don't overinvest in the inconsistent. Solitude no longer feels like punishment, it feels like home. That's the strength Jung meant, the integrated self. The one who's examined their shadow, their fear, their neediness, and said, "I see you, but you don't get to steer my life anymore." Protecting yourself from others begins with protecting yourself from the old you, the impulsive you, the pleasing you, the version that thought love required shrinking. That person is gone. You've outgrown the hunger to be picked, the urge to be perfectly understood, the compulsion to find peace in someone else's presence. You've realized the truth. No one can truly harm you unless you let them. Your energy is no longer open to the unqualified. Your time is no longer spent proving your worth. Your presence is no longer free. They can feel it now, the absence, the quiet of healed wounds, the cool recognition that they no longer have a key. You've learned boundaries are not cruelty but medicine. Walking away is not failure but self-respect. Softness without standards is not virtue but self-destruction. With that clarity, everything changes. You stop battling for value. You embody it. You stop defending your distance. You own it. You stop tolerating anything that threatens your calm. Not out of rage, but because you're done bargaining with chaos. This is what Jung meant when he said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." And now you choose to be untouchable, not in arrogance, but in alignment. You become someone who doesn't live in emotional debt, who doesn't bleed for people without bandages, who doesn't wait to be witnessed because they've already witnessed themselves. At this stage, nothing and no one can wound you because you refuse to abandon yourself for closeness. Your peace is no longer a trade. It isn't earned through approval, maintained by tiptoeing, or gifted by those who barely know you. It's yours, built, not borrowed, integrated, not inherited. This is the self Jung spoke of, not your mask. Not your roles, but the unshakable core that's been buried under years of trying to be liked, needed, safe. Most confuse safety with surrender, think keeping peace means swallowing disrespect, believe kindness means no boundaries, assume spirituality means tolerating depletion, but until you stop leaving yourself behind for connection, you'll keep attracting the same wounds. The hard truth. You've been too open, too quick to offer your softness to those who never earned it. And what did it yield? Confusion, disrespect, disappointment. People don't treasure what they didn't earn. They don't guard what you hand over for free. Emotional sovereignty starts here. No more discounts on your energy. No more over-explaining. No more begging to be seen. You watch instead, who puts in the effort without being asked. Those who don't, fade away. Let them. Now you fear being drained more than being alone. You fear shrinking more than rejection. You fear betraying yourself more than disappointing others. As Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That requires leaving every setup that feeds on your silence, facing the mirror, asking, where did I learn to accept this much? And answering without victimhood. Healing isn't just about feeling better, it's about becoming someone who no longer entertains chaos. You stop chasing closure, craving apologies, needing validation before protecting your peace. You simply stop. Stop replying to convenience calls, stop explaining lines to repeat offenders, stop showing up for absentees. Freedom begins quietly, the unanswered text, the declined call, the conversation you never start, not from spite, but from awareness, when awareness is your baseline. You stop living in reaction and start moving with intent. You decide who gets access, what deserves your attention, how far someone can reach into your calm. And you choose you, not the old you who begged for love by bleeding, but the new you who guards peace like a sacred flame. Your value is no longer up for debate. You enter rooms differently, speak with ease, no longer argue to win. Silence has become your loudest statement. People notice the firmness of your edges, the shift in your tone, the return to yourself, the refusal to settle for less than mutual respect. Real respect begins when you stop giving it to those who only consume. Integration, Jung taught, not revenge, not suppression, not ego. You don't need to destroy anyone to heal. You don't need to retaliate to reclaim yourself. You only need to take back what should never have left your hands. In truth, no one ever really broke you. They revealed where you were still breaking yourself. Still chasing approval, still fearing rejection, still believing love required loss of self. That belief is gone now. You believe in wholeness, in guarding your mind like your second heart. So when asked what changed, you'll smile and disappear, because the change wasn't loud, it was deep. It lived in the tears you didn't backtrack on, in the boundaries you enforced while being called selfish, in the silence that became sanctuary. Now you are the protector you always needed. Hurt may still exist, but it no longer defines you. You are anchored, not in applause, status, or popularity, but in self-awareness, boundaries, and truth. Jung called this individuation the lifelong path to becoming who you were before the masks, beneath the wounds, beyond survival mode. In this stillness, chaos doesn't pull you in, not because you can't feel it, but because it no longer decides who you are. You don't shrink for expectations, don't deplete yourself rescuing the unwilling. You see the bait, hear the disguised manipulation, and don't bite. You've stopped oversharing for connection, overgiving for loyalty, overcommitting from fear. Now you give slow, watch long, attach deliberately, not from defense, but from awareness. You no longer call chaos chemistry. Don't seek closure from those who thrive on confusion. Don't stay just to prove you're finally good enough to keep. Wholeness doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't embrace familiar wounds. It knows the difference between attention and presence, adrenaline and safety, resonance and trauma. And it chooses accordingly. The healed you is selective, quiet, living boundaries instead of announcing them, embodying respect instead of requesting it, disappearing from spaces that demand you be someone you're not. This is integration when your inner life is so cohesive that nothing outside can splinter it. People will still test you, call you selfish, say you've changed. You won't flinch. You'll know distance is discernment, knowing who gets all of you and who gets none. You'll know when to stay and when to step out. You'll know peace is not found in universal approval, it's found in needing none. You no longer bend for peace, you hold it, and let the room adjust. Those who match your pace stay. The rest fade, and you let them, without guilt. You've stopped cushioning your boundaries, stopped doing others' emotional work, stopped sacrificing your wholeness for comfort. You've come home to yourself, and the more healed you are, the less reactive you become, the more untouchable you feel. Not because you're shut down, but because you're complete. Now no one enters. By default, they must knock, wait, align. If not, they don't come in, not as punishment, but because your peace is final.